सच्चे बनकर और जनता की ज्यादा लोकप्रियता हासिल कर मारा है।
Hello everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. Over 7 hours and counting, that has been the time multiple teams of the Income Tax Department have been conducting surveys at the BBC offices in Delhi and Mumbai. Sources say the surveys are being conducted over allegations of taxation irregularities with prima facie evidence of tax evasion. The Income Tax Department aims to review the BBC's balance sheets and account details. BBC employees have been told to go home or stay at home to prevent any interference. Remember, this comes after the political storm over the BBC documentary on the 2002 Gujarat riots, which the BJP has called an anti-India propaganda. The BJP has said the agency should be allowed to do its job, but also added that the British broadcaster has a tainted history of peddling lies. However, this survey has united the opposition once again, which is up in arms against the centre of an undeclared and has accused the centre, in fact, of an undeclared emergency and stifling the voices of its critics. But beyond the war of words, what are the allegations against the BBC? Now, first, top sources have told CNN News 18 that the survey is being conducted in view of deliberate non-compliance of rules. So that is what the sources are clearly telling CNN News 18, that the BBC has been accused of non-compliance with transfer pricing rules. That sources say that persistent non-compliance with the rules has been on for many years and several notices have been issued to the BBC. The BBC has been defiant and non-compliant. Sources say the BBC has illegally diverted its profits and investigation is underway into manipulation of prices for benefits. Sources are also saying that surveys are conducted on a routine basis. Now, this is what the BBC, the broadcaster, is saying, that the income tax authorities are currently at the BBC offices in New Delhi and Mumbai and we are fully cooperating. We hope to have this situation resolved as soon as possible. Let me go straight to the BBC office from where Anshul is joining me live. Anshul, what is the update? Where are the employees, the reporters, the producers are present?
So yes, it has been more than 8 hours since the IT team came to the BBC office out here in the national capital. I'll try and show you in the visuals of what is transpiring over here. The survey is going on at the 6th floor is what we have been told. Now remember, the 6th floor is the floor in which the BBC's HR and admin department stays. Talking about the employees and the people who had entered the BBC office before the IT salutes came in, their phones were initially, they were asked not to use the phones and not to use the official systems. However, what we have been told at this point in time that the phones of the employees have been returned back to them and they have been asked that if they want to leave from the office premises, they can do so. So yes, most of the employees have now started leaving from the BBC's office from the other gate is what we have been told. If you talk about the survey is still continuing out here. The employees, the BBC employees who pertain to HR department and the admin department, they are still being asked questions. They are still being asked to produce documents in front of them. So yes, it has been more than 8 hours and the survey is still going on. So yes, it remains to be seen as to how much longer will this survey continue, because yes, the BBC has issued a statement in which they have said that they are cooperating with the investigating agencies at this point in time. But yes, the kind of allegations that have been put against the BBC by the IT department, that are definitely very, very grave in nature. It pertains to transferring of funds from London to the national capital and vice versa as well. So the amount that the BBC has been earning out here from its bureau in the national capital and across India, the amount that was given back to the parent company of BBC, that is something that is under the lens right now. So all the balance sheets are being checked despite
Okay.
the IT salutes. So yes, once the survey finishes, it will be very, very interesting to see what comes out from the survey, and if the IT department would have those tangible evidences to take stringent action against the BJP
Okay.
BBC, because remember, the IT department has already said that these are not new allegations. In fact, they have been probing on these lines for a very, very long time, and today, after gathering all the evidences, they felt the need to carry out this survey, and hence this survey is being carried out by the IT department today.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Anshul. Let me bring in my guests at this hour: RP Singh, BJP spokesperson; Sujata Paul, Congress spokesperson; Abhijit Majumdar, consulting editor of First Post; Ashok Sajanhar, former diplomat; Aditya Kothari is the founder of Index Society. Ashok Sajanhar, you are one of the signatories against the BBC documentary. Many see this as peddling of falsehood. But today's surveys, can it just be seen as mere IT department survey because of non-compliance with the transfer pricing rule, as the government is indicating?
You know, some people might try to draw a link between the fact that the BBC came up with this documentary and the government action that was taken against it, and very soon after that, that this search and investigation has been put into place. But I would like to see it in the context of what the IT authorities and the establishment has mentioned. Number one, as you yourself and your correspondent also said, Maria, that this is an issue that is not current. It has been going on for a long time. There's investigations have been going on for a long time. There has been non-compliance on the part of the BBC. And, you know, what we saw in the documentary was that it was a motivated propaganda. It was biased. It was prejudiced. So, you know, having a further look at an issue that has been pending for a long time, I don't think that there is, you know, that any connection should really be drawn between the two.
Okay, you are saying no connection should be drawn, but the opposition has united Abhijit Majumdar in its criticism, in which they are saying that if anything, this is the government stifling criticism. My question to you is that this was almost like an issue which was, you know, which wasn't really the dominating narrative in the last few days and weeks. And it is back on the surface. It's back being debated right now. Why would you have a raid of this nature, particularly because timing will be a suspect, and that is the reason why the opposition is saying so?
Maria, you know, one may argue that this is a routine raid, and this has happened even under the UPI. I believe, you know, the BBC has been under lens, but
Yes.
the timing and the messaging, I think we ought to think about that. In my opinion, the government is trying to send a message. There are two parts of it. One is that if you are, you know, beating up a dead horse, you're bringing up stuff that has been decided in the Indian courts after years of scrutiny, where, you know, of which 12 years UPA was in power.
Yes.
And everything had been, you know, investigated threadbare, and nothing has been found. And then BBC rakes it up before the elections. You know, if one is doing that, then their own house should be in order. I mean, you can, of course, you know, scrutinize the government of the day. That's okay. But on a issue that has been settled in the courts of India, you know, after years of investigation itself, I mean, you know, the documentary release timing by the BBC itself is suspect. So
yes,
the government could be sending
you know,
out
the point that you are saying, Abhijit, that you have to have your own house in order, because if you are trying to rake up a matter which is decades old, in which the Prime Minister has been given clean chit by multiple agencies, and only recently the Supreme Court has talked about a larger conspiracy against him when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, then why bring it up at all?
Very quickly,
yes.
very quickly. Yeah, very quickly. I mean, just 20 seconds. You know, the other thing is that I think the ruling BJP wants this issue now.
Okay.
Now that the BJP has raked it up and the opposition has, you know, has fallen into the trap, the ruling BJP wants the issue to be in public domain. Okay.
So you are saying that this is an issue that the BJP would want to be there in the public domain. Let me check what is happening in London. Lord Meghnath Desai, economist and former Labour politician, is joining me. Lord Desai, really appreciate your time. My question to you, sir, is how are these surveys, which the government says are essentially tax compliance issue of the BBC, being viewed in UK and particularly by you?
I think, everybody in UK doesn't actually watch the BBC, right? I mean, we get lots of other channels to watch. So BBC is not as important to UK as it. But, people in UK, the press and so on, are not stupid. They will realize that this raid on BBC is entirely motivated by the previous BBC documentary. I mean, they don't have to listen to election, not election, what Supreme Court did. We all know that. If it is an old story, and if BBC is repeating it, why is anybody bothered? Just say, if it's an old story, it's all been settled, ignore it. Why, first of all, ban the documentary and then raid the BBC? I presume there will be an income tax raid next, and then there will be, I don't know.
These are surveys that the government is saying, Lord Desai.
Let me put it this way. When India is hosting the G20, raiding the BBC does not look good. If India is in a global power now, hosting people, if it looks like India is stifling freedom of speech, even if the BBC is repeating for the 32nd time what it has done before, you do not repress freedom of speech. You do not harass people who are engaged in free speech. It just doesn't look good.
Okay, but Lord Meghnath Desai, I was just going through history, and BBC Worldwide Limited was issued income tax notice in March 2009 under Section 148 of the IT Act, and it has been under the IT scanner for the longest time. So,
listen. I'm not a child, right? I'm not a child. I live in London, and we do income tax and all of that. It is the timing which is the problem. If they have not been paying income tax for many years, why does suddenly it happen after BBC shows a documentary? And why? I want to help the government of India. Why does the government of India do something which will look embarrassingly bad for its own image when G20 is meeting in this country? G20 is a serious matter. And you don't actually go out and do something trivial like this.
What is being said here is that a BBC documentary at this time. Yes. BBC documentary at this. Yes. BBC documentary at this time, particularly when India is hosting G20, India is managing the presidency of G20. The timing of the BBC documentary is also a suspect.
So you agree that this whole thing has to do with the previous BBC documentary, nothing to do with income tax, right? Now you have yourself said that all this is because of BBC documentary. Now BBC documentary is gone, forgotten a month ago. You are reviving the news of that documentary by doing the income tax raid. What do you think, newspapers in UK will think about it? Do you think they'll say, oh, BBC is terrible, it doesn't pay income tax, oh, how shocking, oh, we have to do something about it? They will know that this is in retaliation of a BBC documentary, which, as everybody says in the government, BJP government, it's old stuff, it's no longer relevant. Why does BBC do old stuff? Ignore it.
Okay, you are saying it should be ignored.
Learn to go above all this stuff.
Okay,
and
British
act
MP,
like a global power. Act like a global power.
British MP Bob Blackman
Don't
has
act
said
like a local power.
that this BBC
is not
documentary.
Aam Aadmi Party. You're not fighting Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi. This is a big issue, and you are attacking BBC, and it will not look good.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Okay.
I mean, you can think as you like, but attacking BBC is not good politics.
Okay. British MP Bob Blackman, Lord Desai, has said that this entire documentary is completely exaggerated, and BBC, of course, does not represent views of the British government, and that this documentary is a hatchet job, and that it's a result of poor journalism, is badly researched and completely unjustified.
So ignore it. Just ignore it. If it's a bad documentary, why bother? Why bother to give it publicity by banning it? You're giving it publicity around the world by banning it. If you ignore it, if it's a bad documentary, what you do, you change channels. If somebody has a bad documentary, you just change channels and carry on. You don't go around chasing them and giving them a lot of bad publicity around the world. Now the whole world will know that government of India has something to hide, so they're attacking the BBC. That's what people will say. People are not naive, People are not naive. People read other newspapers, see other channels. They're not stupid. So it is not an internal matter. As I said, you're not fighting the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi or Congress in Bihar or something like that. This is a global matter, and I think the government ought to have the confidence to say, this is rubbish. We're not going to pay any attention to it, and just forget it. I wish the government would just say, this is trivial stuff.
Okay.
We're not wasting any time on this stuff. We have many other things to do.
All right. Lord Meghnad Desai, I really appreciate your time. And let me take that question to R.P. Singh. R.P. Singh, the timing is a suspect, and that is the reason why these reactions are coming in. And that is why what you are hearing from the opposition may not be completely wrong either.
First, let's understand, this is not a raid at all. This is a survey. One. Secondly, if you don't answer to the questions or the notices being sent by the agencies, then agencies will come to your office. It's very simple as it is. Why make such a big show out of this? When notices were being sent, ongoingly notices were being sent, and BBC was not answering those notices, not replying to those notices. Obviously, the authorities have a right to come and check your books. I mean, notices are being sent, please get your books. Let's check your tally your books on whatever entries you have done and how you have transferred money abroad, and have you paid the due taxes or not. But if they say, no, we are BBC, we give a hoot to anyone, we are not bothered, we are not abide by the Indian law, we won't abide by the Indian constitution.
BBC isn't saying this. My question is, and I would agree with Lord Meghnad Desai, if so far this documentary was being seen as falsehood, and likes of Ashok Sajanahar and several eminent citizens had clearly said that this is a larger conspiracy against the Prime Minister, and there were a lot of those who said that if he has been given a clean sheet by the top court of India, then why is the BBC appearing to do poor journalism? Why is that being viewed completely differently now, with the timing, which is, of course, it is happening just weeks after that, yes, and also this is the G20 year. How do you expect the world media not to react?
Well, world media should also know that if you do tax evasion, you manipulate tax, you are answerable. And then, since you're talking with the media, I appreciate you should also dig into it, since how long the notices were being sent, and since how long they were awaiting answering the notices. So I'm not related. You are trying to relate between the two. There's no relation.
Okay, so you are saying that there's no relation between the two. Sujata Paul, there's no relation between the two.
There's no relation.
Yeah, there's no relation between. Yes, please go ahead.
Another 5 seconds. So that has been banned, and that has nothing to do with this complete thing. But because you make a movie, or you are BBC, as Lord Desai was saying that BBC is a big name. BBC has apologized to various world authorities, including UK, USA, Jerusalem. They were apologized on their reports. So I'm not going by that. I mean, whether they apologize in coming days on this report or on Prime Minister Modi or not as a CM.
Okay.
But that's point aside. The issue right now is I can't have a liberty to do a loot on the taxpayers' money, which is supposed to be Indian, which has come into Indian coffers.
Sujata Paul.
And then say that I'm BBC.
Sujata Paul, what the government is saying that this is a case of non-compliance under transfer pricing rules, and that they have been persistently, deliberately violating transfer pricing norms, and they had deliberately diverted significant amount of profits and have not followed the arm's length arrangement in case of allocation of profit. Shouldn't this be seen from pure IT investigation rather than the twist or the editorial decision that it did in case of, the documentary? Why are the two being linked by the opposition?
First of all, this is flagrant, audacious, appalling behavior by the government. And the timing, like Lord Meghnad Desai also said, is suspect. Now, I am amused, very senior people sitting on your panel are talking about how this was motivated propaganda and how this has come just before elections and so on and so forth. But the fact is, why could this not be ignored? The BBC documentary, mind you, was banned. And this means that the Prime Minister never took a responsibility of what happened in his state when he was the Chief Minister, and he knows it, and there are skeletons in his cupboard, and that is why he is behaving in this manner.
So, Dr. Paul, you believe in the Supreme Court? Does the opposition have faith in the highest court of the land?
In the cupboard?
Hang on. See, responsibility and indictment are two different things. Conviction is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about responsibility. He did not take responsibility for what happened in his state when he was the Chief Minister. I am not talking about conviction at all. Please understand the difference. Secondly, now when I talk about what happened at that time, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee reminded him of Rajdharm, and that is exactly what the BBC documentary is doing today. But if everything was false, this should have been. Please don't speak in between.
I'm sorry, you are misquoting Vajpayee ji.
Ultimately, the
you are misquoting Vajpayee ji. You are cherry picking the statement of Vajpayee ji.
And if the BBC was wrong, you did not
look who's talking. Right from Nehru to Indira to Rajiv Gandhi. Right from Nehru to Indira Gandhi to Rajiv Gandhi, all have throttled the media. What are you talking about? Nehru did it, Indira Gandhi did it, Rajiv Gandhi did it. And you are talking about liberty. You are talking about liberty of... No. Who is talking? Please go and look, see a mirror first. Look into the mirror first and then come and talk and give lecture about liberty.
Responsibility. He might not have been convicted, but the responsibility
you are supporting a corporation who is playing on the taxpayers' money.
Listen,
you are supporting a corporation. You are supporting a corporation because of your political objectives. You are supporting a corporation who has manipulated taxes because of your political objectives.
But Mr. Modi knows it, and he knows it in his heart that there are skeletons.
Answer what questions? Answer what questions? You answer me one question. Did Rahul Gandhi meet the BBC chief in London or not?
The BBC office.
Did Rahul Gandhi had a personal meeting with the BBC chief or not?
Okay, this issue, should it be seen from the prism of politics the way it is being? Because if anything, the entire opposition is on one side and the BJP and the government is trying to explain essentially that this is a normal process that is being followed. Let's listen into what the INB Minister Anurag Thakur had to say. He is saying that the agency must be allowed to do its job.
इनकम टैक्स विभाग समय समय पर जहां पर अनियमितताएं पाई जाती हैं वहां पर सर्वेस करता है और जब ये सर्वे का काम पूरा होता है तब वो अपना एक प्रेस नोट या प्रेस ब्रीफिंग करके जानकारी देते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है जब ये इनकम टैक्स विभाग का सर्वे पूरा होगा वो जानकारी पूरी आपको डिटेल में दे देंगे।
Adit Kothari, here are surveys that the government says they have put out logic and reason as well, and how it should be seen as that this is a survey, not a raid or a search, and routine one as the government is putting. But Adit Kothari, one may also agree with, Lord Meghna Desai that because of the timing, that is the reason why it is being linked to the editorial decision.
Absolutely. I mean, I concur with Lord Desai, if anything else, that the timing of this should be questioned. But at the same time, if you're questioning the timing of this particular tax survey, you should also question the release of the documentary. So you can't do one and not do the other. And it was extremely rich to hear someone on your panel essentially talk about skeletons in the closet and completely forget about the 84 pogrom that their party essentially unleashed on the people of India and the Sikh community in Delhi. So it was extremely rich and extremely disheartening to listen to that. It is imperative that this documentary be alive because it exposes the biasness of the media organizations that were involved in this. If you look at the documentary, there were people from Al Jazeera, Article 14, Caravan, and that whole cabal, which is essentially
on
involved.
Your screen on both sides. Wow.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you
saying,
while you were talking, so
Yes, Sujata Paul, what were you saying, please?
I am saying that on both sides of your screen, you have gentlemen who think that whatever is happening is correct.
No, he didn't say that.
Amazing if this is a debate.
No, ma'am, he didn't say that. In fact, Adit Kothari is of the opinion what Lord Meghna Desai said. Ignore it.
Anyway,
why should it be two be linked? And I think it should be left on me who I invite on my panel. And it's a very balanced debate that I'm doing. Please go ahead. You have made your point.
You.
Yes, you are just doing that.
No, I'm saying on the screen you should have both sides.
I think
all the sides are there. All the sides are there, and everybody is entitled to their views, ma'am. Yes, please go ahead.
I think Maria, it's imperative for those who are essentially indulging in this sort of hypocrisy do some soul searching. I think, like Abhijit essentially pointed out, people who live in houses built of glass shouldn't be throwing stones at others. BBC was sent similar notices by the IT department during the UPA regime twice, if I'm not correct. And for the similar malpractices, they can go to the court like they did in the previous time. And it will be, if the courts find anything credible, they will pursue it. If not, they will squash it. BBC have a long history of accounting malpractices and tax avoidance.
Yes, Sujata Paul, I'm going to remind you of what has been done in the past.
UK,
yes.
In the UK,
Indira Gandhi banned the BBC in 1970 and along with other foreign broadcasters in 1975 during the emergency. BBC was banned in 1970 over negative portrayal of India in a show when French director Louis documentary series was shown on the BBC, resulted in the closure of the BBC offices in Delhi for 2 years. Which was the party in government? It was yours. In 1975, one moment please, let me make this point clear now. In 1975, BBC withdrew correspondent Mark Tully following emergency. Banned the BBC. In fact, a statement signed by 41 Congress MPs accused the BBC of broadcasting notoriously anti-India stories and asked the government not to allow the BBC to report again from Indian soil. This is what has been done by the Congress party.
So Maria, let me come in.
Yes.
So exactly, as far as the emergency is concerned, we have already asked for forgiveness of the country in the parliament. So that means what happened then was wrong, right? So if you are trying to justify
it happened before that, and it was this letter which has been sent by 41 MPs of the Congress did not happen during emergency. And in 2017, my question is, ma'am, my question is this, that it has been done by your government as well.
So is that a justification?
No, I am not saying it is a justification. If
So
you have done it, you should.
No, I am not going to endorse if anything was wrong. We have to learn from history, not justify the wrongs done at that time. Now, as far as this bulldozer politics is concerned, what happens? Haven't you seen that every time someone gets caught, someone is booked for some reason, you have the bulldozer coming in? And you know what has resulted, what has happened in Kanpur now? Now, when there is law and we are in 2023, you're comparing to 1974, 75. Haven't we learned from the past? No, we haven't. And when it has to do with Mr. Modi cannot be questioned, and that is how it is. And if somebody does it,
Okay, I have just 30 seconds and I'll give that final word to Ashok Sajanhar. Please go ahead, sir.
You know, I think, Maria, that there is, of course, one is a text that we are talking about. You know, this has happened. What BBC came out with was, as I mentioned earlier, completely prejudiced, motivated propaganda. And as the government said, it is reflects a colonial mindset. But I think there is a subtext also to it. I think it also sends out a very clear message. Number one, by banning it on YouTube, etc. And number two, by these raids also, because it's a continuing affair, non-compliance by the BBC, that I think that, you know, if there are media houses who think that they can peddle out these falsehoods and lies and get away with it, you know, then they will have to think not only twice, but think several times before they do anything of this sort. And I think there are both the text and the subtext need to be read together while discussing this issue.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Ashok Sajanhar, Adit Kothari, Abhijit Majumdar, RP Singh and Sujata Paul. Shifting focus to debate 2, where Amit Shah has sent an emphatic message to the opposition on the road to 2024.
मैं मानता हूं कि 2024 में कहीं कोई स्पर्धा नहीं है। देश एक तरफा मोदी जी के साथ आगे बढ़ रहा है। अभी तो किसी को प्रिंसिपल ऑपोजिशन का लेबल जनता ने लोकसभा में नहीं दिया। आना ना आना उनकी फुर्सत का सवाल है, परंतु परिणाम तो आना चाहिए ना। देखिए ना क्या आता है अभी काउंटिंग के दिन। मैं नहीं मानता कि इस प्रकार की बातों को देश की जनता सही मानती है।
देख रहा है एक अकेला कितनों को भारी पड़ रहा है, एक अकेला कितनों को भारी पड़ रहा है।
After Prime Minister Narendra Modi threw down the gauntlet in the Rajya Sabha for the 2024 elections, saying "Ek aadmi sab pe bhari pad raha hai," Union Home Minister Amit Shah has reiterated that stand, saying there's no principal opposition in the country to take on the track record of the Modi government. He said that the Prime Minister's policies have transformed the nation into a major global power with social welfare measures reaching the poorest of the poor. Amit Shah said the government's Vikas drive will power its 2024 campaign. On Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra, Mr. Shah said that allegations that the BJP is rattled are baseless, adding that Rahul Gandhi is yet to prove the election impact of the political campaign. So has the Home Minister reaffirmed the Modi versus all scenario for 2024? Before I bring in the guests, let's listen in to what Home Minister told ANI's Editor-in-Chief Smita Prakash.
2024 को लेकर आप समझते हैं क्या आप ऑलरेडी एक एजेंडा लेकर चल रहे हैं कि 2024 के इलेक्शन के लिए क्या मुद्दा होगा, बीजेपी के लिए क्या मैसेजिंग होगा?
देश का विकास, सुरक्षित देश से अर्थतंत्र को विश्व में सबसे तेज गति से बढ़ने वाला अर्थतंत्र बनाना, भारत का गौरव समग्र विश्व के अंदर पहुंचाने का प्रयास और सफलतापूर्वक इसकी स्वीकृति आई है, और देश के 60 करोड़ गरीब लोगों के जीवन स्तर को उठाने का 8 साल के अल्पकाल के अंदर जो प्रयास किया और हम उठाने में सफल भी हुए हैं। और ढेर सारी सिद्धियां, रेलवे में आमूलचूल परिवर्तन हो रहा है, अंतरिक्ष के क्षेत्र में नई नीति बनकर आज हम अंतरिक्ष के क्षेत्र में भी लीडर बनने के लिए तैयारी कर रहे हैं। ड्रोन की पॉलिसी बनकर ड्रोन के क्षेत्र में भी हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। खदानों के क्षेत्र में भी बहुत सारी पॉलिसी हमने तय की है। इंडस्ट्रियल डेवलपमेंट के लिए, मेक इन इंडिया को सफल बनाने के लिए, भारत समग्र विश्व में उत्पादन का हब बने, इसके लिए ढेर सारी नीतियां बनाकर इनमें सफलतापूर्वक प्रयास किया है। भारत की डिफेंस के क्षेत्र में विदेश पर की निर्भरता को 30% ये 8 साल के अंदर कम करना, मैं मानता हूं बहुत बड़ी सिद्धि है। नॉर्थ ईस्ट पहली बार विकास का अनुभव कर रहा है। मैं तो अभी त्रिपुरा में घूम रहा हूं। आज भी एक मैं बहुत गरीब घर के अंदर भोजन करने के लिए गया था, उसने उसका टॉयलेट भी बताया, गैस का सिलेंडर भी बताया, घर में बिजली भी बताई और नल से आता हुआ पानी भी बताया और आयुष्मान भारत का कार्ड भी बताया।
ये लाभार्थी स्कीम,
लाभार्थी स्कीम तो ये गरीब के घर में पहुंचा है सारा। मैं मानता हूं कि 2024 में कहीं कोई स्पर्धा नहीं है, देश एक तरफा मोदी जी के साथ आगे बढ़ रहा है।
परिवर्तन की राजनीति, ये आप पिछले 8 साल और अब 2 साल, लेकिन क्या आप 2024 में आप प्रिंसिपल ऑपोजिशन किसे मानते हैं? कांग्रेस लेड बाय राहुल गांधी?
ये तो देश की जनता ने तय करना है। अभी तो किसी को प्रिंसिपल ऑपोजिशन का लेबल जनता ने लोकसभा में नहीं दिया है।
लेकिन भारत जोड़ो यात्रा के बाद अब तो ऐसे ही लग रहा है कि मोदी जी के खिलाफ तो अब राहुल गांधी ही खड़े होंगे, क्योंकि ममता जी वगैरह तो
देखिए ना, ये 3 राज्यों में चुनाव है, कितना असर होता है।
राहुल गांधी तो आए नहीं कैंपेन करने के लिए, त्रिपुरा तो आए नहीं।
वो आना ना आना उनकी फुर्सत का सवाल है, परंतु परिणाम तो आना चाहिए ना। देखिए ना क्या आता है अभी काउंटिंग के दिन।
लेकिन
3 राज्यों में है, नागालैंड, मेघालय और त्रिपुरा, तीनों पुराने कांग्रेस के राज्य हैं
जी।
कितनी मजबूती मिलती है देखते हैं परिणाम में।
पर वो अब गठबंधन के साथ इलेक्शन,
गठबंधन में भी तो मिलेगी,
सीट शेयरिंग किया उन्होंने।
हाँ।
लेकिन कांग्रेस पार्टी कहती है कि राहुल गांधी के भारत जोड़ो यात्रा से बीजेपी काफी रैटल हो गई है, डर गई है कि राहुल गांधी का इमेज चेंज हो गया है।
चलिए, वो उनका एक विचार है। मैं नहीं मानता कि इस प्रकार की बातों को देश की जनता सही मानती है।
Let me bring in my guests. R.P. Singh continues to be with us. Dr. Anika Mehrotra, Congress spokesperson, and Smita Prakash, who interviewed Mr. Shah, is joining us live as well. Smita Prakash, these 9 elections, which are scheduled to take place in 2023, is being seen as a precursor for the big battle for 2024 Lok Sabha polls. If you look at the messaging that is coming, and you had asked him clearly that if anything, Prime Minister Modi's speech in the Rajya Sabha has set the tone of how it will be going. एक आदमी सब पे भारी पड़ रहा है. Is that what the BJP's campaign will be in these 9 elections and also for 2024?
See, I think they keep changing their messaging depending, because they are state elections. So they keep changing some of the messaging that they do. So like in the northeastern states which are going to polls, in that's Tripura, Meghalaya and Nagaland, their messaging is towards provide that they have mainstreamed everybody in the northeast. There is no isolation of the northeast. So these are things which they are talking in the northeast, and they talk about the labharthis which you just ran, about how they are providing the basic necessities. But when he went, like on Saturday, Amit Shah was in Karnataka. Yes. So there the messaging changes. There he talks about Tipu Sultan. There he talks about Hindutva. So their messaging changes depending on which state they are in. But the programs are on schedule. So what he was talking about, whether it's defense sector, whether it is the agriculture sector, whether it's internal security, those programs will stay in place. But the messaging for each state changes as they go. It's not that one message which, the Congress is playing everywhere, which is pyar ka dukaan, pyar ki rajniti. So whether it is Kerala or Kashmir, it's the same pyar that is being talked about. So here they are changing their messaging.
Okay. So, pyar ki dukaan and pyar, as the Congress is saying, all that pyar has to really yield electoral dividends. Anika Mehrotra, the fact is that any policy, the biggest validation is the electoral victory. So, when the elections are taking place in these 3 states, why is Rahul Gandhi, who was on a Bharat Jodo mission, completely missing in action?
Well, thanks to Smita ji for asking a question on Bharat Jodo Yatra, and that to the Honorable Home Minister, which he very smartly evaded, which he didn't have any answer. He just shrugged it off. So that is the impact, and that's why we say BJP is rattled on the Bharat Jodo Yatra. I understand, ma'am. It's difficult times and challenging time for the Modi government, and they all are in monkey mode. See no Adani, hear no Adani, talk no Adani. This is what they are in, and that is the fear factor, and that's why they are, running from pillar to post to ensure that the collective wisdom on which they've attacked our country, still remains intact and still are under the cloud of what they say. So I think this is the policy, and that's why they are seen everywhere trying to create a false narrative. But it's not needed now. You see, the people have enough. It's high time. People have told them now. I think are going to tell them that practice what you preach.
Okay.
You don't do
Prakash,
that.
you know, the point being made by Anika Mehrotra before I bring in RP Singh is that the BJP is rattled. Did he look rattled in that interview?
Absolutely. He was like evading the question. I'm happy that man could actually have the
okay, let Smita Prakash respond to that because it is she who interviewed Mr. Shah. Yes, please go ahead.
Well, that was the exact word that I used, rattled. I asked that exact term I used, saying that the Congress says that you are rattled. And he just dismissed it because, one, I don't think he was rattled one bit. But the fact is that the Congress did, I think, not in the interview, but outside the interview, speaking with the BJP people, I think some of them are what should I say, have a sense of respect, I think, for Rahul Gandhi, if nothing else, for the fact that he is doing something. That, you know, they can't make that charge anymore that he does nothing. I think in that respect, Rahul Gandhi has proven his naysayers wrong in you know, saying that he just goes off on holiday, he does nothing. At least something is happening, and the BJP, I think, respects it in some quarters. At least there is a respect that he is doing something, and the Congress has gotten out of this mode of, you know, which everybody had said, this, you know, lazy kind of opposition where you just wait for something to happen and you
so
react.
Then in that
Here
case,
was a proactive thing, which is the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
So RP Singh, so there is a grudging acceptance and appreciation also that Rahul Gandhi is no longer a reluctant politician, someone who can be on a yatra which is for so many days, will be seen as a politician, may not be a challenger, but definitely a serious politician.
Do you seriously think he's a serious politician? What all he has said during the yatra? मैं हूँ, मैं नहीं हूँ, मेरा नाम राहुल गांधी नहीं है, राहुल गांधी तो रहा नहीं. What all he has said? I mean, do you still think he is serious? Man, please go through the memes which have been run on the WhatsApp and the social media about his all utterances which he has made during the Bharat Jodo Yatra. But that point aside, when to be a serious politician, you need to slog hard. I mean, by merely doing a yatra,
but he did
work.
that. I think you should accept that, you know, from being seen as a politician who used to parachute in and out of politics, Rahul Gandhi on a yatra for so many days will be a politician. RP Singh, come on now. Okay. I mean, your leaders accept it.
Can I complete? I mean, I'm part of the party and I've been working in party for 45 years. So please give me some grace.
Sure.
So issue is, I mean, politician is one who goes head on and contests and take elections head on, who doesn't duck elections, who knows that he will put his all his stake for the election and then ensure that his party wins elections. Where was he in Gujarat? So man has to be serious, because if he is a politician and running a political party, and then initially they were confused whether this yatra is a political yatra or an NGO or some social cause yatra. Now later on they have tried to project Mr. Rahul Gandhi as a politician now after the yatra. Do you think he's serious?
Okay, Dr. Anika Mehrotra.
I don't think he's serious. I mean,
the real test or a kasauti of any campaign or a policy is election, you know, is electoral success. So first in Gujarat he was missing. He really skipped that region. A poll-bound state, he doesn't really campaign. Now in these three states which are going to polls, again he is missing. So what is the purpose of a yatra of this nature? कोई campaign का success कैसे आप barometer क्या होगा?
Ma'am, unlike the BJP, it is not the triple engine and double engine where only two of them are seen. It's the entire Congress workers, Congress leaders, Kharge, all of them you see going in campaigning, speaking about it, framing policies. See, BJP at this juncture, ma'am, is a failed government with failed visions. So they are trying to come back again with another faulty narrative, the third time attempt. That will not run collectively. As I said, the collective wisdom of the country, if you think you can blur it, by all the time attacking the opposition and going back to Nehruji, why don't you have the surname? These things will not run. People at the you change your stance from 8 million to 11 million Jal Yojana. So the trust, there is a trust.
Let me give the final words. I have just enough time for Smita Prakash. Smita Prakash, this is an interview which has multiple news points. According to you, as the one who interviewed Mr. Shah, what according to you is the biggest news point?
Look, before I come to that, what RP Singh said, like if you see, you mentioned also electorally. Look, Tripura is the third smallest state in the country, right? See what the BJP did. Mr. Modi visited twice. Amit Shah campaigned twice. They had Hema Malini, Rajnath Singh, Yogi Adityanath. They had so many, Mithun Chakravarti, Suvendu. They had so many people. Why should it matter so much to the BJP to win a small state like Tripura? It sends in only 2 MPs, if I'm not mistaken, to the Lok Sabha. And in spite of that, they have rallies, they have, road shows and everything. And every state is fought like this. So what was the main thrust? You asked me about, Maria, you asked me about the interview. The main thrust of the interview, if I was to just point out 1 or 2 things, is that they are on the ball all the time. They function as a single unit. Nobody sees that, oh, okay, Tripura is in the northeast. मैं क्या कर रही हूँ? मैं तो मथुरा की MP हूँ, मैं त्रिपुरा में क्यों जाऊँ? If Mithun Chakravarti might say, I've got nothing to do with that, but he goes there. You don't know what will click. Why should Yogi Adityanath move from as CM of Uttar Pradesh, go to Tripura? But he's doing that. What about the Congress? They were for decades in power in Tripura. Right. In spite of that, they just gave up to the communists. The communists are barely there. You don't see any symbol, but they work underground. They work in this underlayer, But what I'm trying to say is that the BJP is this well-oiled machinery, not just electorally. They understand that to implement their policies, programs, ideas, they need to win elections too. So that's one of the things that they do.
All right, Smita Prakash, I appreciate your time. Dr. Anika Mehrotra and RP Singh, thank you so much. And as we have been saying, this is the party which has all hands on deck, and BJP chief JP Nadda is leading the BJP campaign in Shillong in Meghalaya. He will be releasing Sankalp Patra for Meghalaya Assembly elections tomorrow. There are shots coming in. Let's cut across to it.
मेघालय का एक अपना इतिहास है, मेघालय का एक अपना कल्चर है और मेघालय अपने दृष्टि से विकास के कदमों के साथ अपने आप को जोड़ करके चलना चाहता है। लेकिन इसमें भी कोई दो राय नहीं है कि नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न के स्टेट्स में जब से मोदी जी आए हैं तब से एक विकास का आपस में कंपटीशन शुरू हुआ है और इस विकास के कंपटीशन में हमेशा हमारी कोशिश रही है कि सभी प्रदेश आगे बढ़े। लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि कुछ कारणों से, विशेष करके भ्रष्टाचार के कारण से।
On that note, we are slipping into a short break. Up next, with over 37,000 deaths since the Turkey-Syria earthquakes, search, rescue and relief operations continue with aid from over 60 nations, including India's Operation Dost. CNN News 18 gets you exclusive ground reports after a quick break, so stay with us.
A few members or few officials, so to say, of the income tax, they had reached at this particular place. And if we talk about the precise location, this falls in the national capital Delhi. KG Marg is the area where the office is. You can see as of now the routine affair is taking place, but outside this particular office, and also I would like to show you the visuals from the reception side. You can see there is presence of Delhi police officials as well, and this is a particular sign when a team of the agency, so to say, when a team of the agency, they reach out for any of the either for the survey or for other kind of official activity. This is something which is very much evident with the same, that inside there is presence of the income tax officials, and also outside this particular place there is heavy presence, Greha, of the national media as well, because this is the breaking piece of input and news, so to say, at least for today, where we have been given to understand that both in the cities, Mumbai and national capital, a team of the income tax officials are very much present, but also currently the survey is underway. So what kind of activities roll out under the survey, this is something that we will have to wait for a while for the official version of, not just for the income tax department, but also at the same time from BBC India as well. Because remember, as far as the BBC is concerned, a few days back, this is something which was a reason of the controversy for entire country, especially for the Bharatiya Janata Party, where a documentary was released, for Narendra Modi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, by BBC, and it was clearly banned by the government of India under the IT Act rules, which are newly formed by the government. So amid all those details, now the officials of the income tax, they are present. Again, I would urge my camera person to keep showing you the visuals from this particular place, and also to ban on the police persons as well, who are rightly present at this particular office. So we do not have much information, but the first piece of information says that the IT survey is currently underway in both the cities, in Delhi and Mumbai, inside the BBC office of the country. And also at the same time, we have been given to understand that the internal message has been circulated for all the officials, all the staff members, all the employees of BBC India, that they are not required to show up today for work and for this week as well. So what exactly is transpiring inside when the team of officials are present, this is something that we will have to wait for a while to get the official version.
IT teams are there at BBC offices in both Mumbai and Delhi. The details of why they are there still awaited. The initial details do say that there are IT raids that are being conducted in Mumbai and Delhi. We're also being told that an emergency message has been circulated to all the employees who are working in both these offices. They've been requested not to go to office today and for this entire week. This was circulated among the staff of the BBC. However, we do know that their phones have not been seized. We have managed to ascertain that information. Other than that, we've not managed to actually get more details. We are still awaiting those details. But these are things that we can put out for our viewers, that there's a IT raid that is happening at the BBC offices in Delhi and Mumbai, and there is a message that's been circulated to the employees not to attend work for this entire week. In fact, taking this across to my colleague Ashish Mehrishi to offer more perspective on the story, this big piece of news that we are breaking. Ashish, do we know about any more details about these IT raids?
So the information as of now with us is that it's not a raid. It's basically a survey, which is basically it's absolutely different from the raid. But obviously, there is a political twist to the entire story, because there was recently a film which was circulated, which was in fact even blocked by the Indian government. And the allegation of the income tax department can be that this action is basically only after the government basically blocked the film, which was basically targeting Narendra Modi, current Prime Minister, on issues basically related to the Godhra riots. So certainly there's going to be a political twist to the entire story. But as of now, what we can confirm is that it's not a raid. That is for sure. My sources in the income tax department tell me that it's not a raid. It is basically it's basically a survey. And survey is basically, where, it can be converted into a raid later on in case they are able to find certain details which basically, point out to any tax evasion. But as of now, yes, all we can confirm is that there is a survey which is happening at the BBC office in various locations, which include Delhi and Mumbai.
Okay. Ashish, thank you so much for clarifying that for our viewers. Once again, putting it out there, it's an IT survey that is happening at BBC offices in both Mumbai and Delhi. However, Ashish, this thing that you're mentioning about an income tax survey, this of course involves an investigation process that is carried out to actually ascertain the actual income and other, situations. will this not be impacting the financial income and other stuff that obviously makes a part of the IT survey? Why else is the IT department involved?
So, basically, whenever there is some information which relates to some sort of tax evasion or financial evasion, tax evasion by any organization, and the government believes, especially the CBDT believes so, the income tax department believes so, that there is some sort of tax evasion which has taken place, and that is why they can do a survey, and the survey can subsequently be turned into a raid.
Okay.
For any raid, you need basically the approval of the Director General, the concerned Director General of that zone. But here, if you need a survey, even a local officer can do a survey at a location, and if they believe so that there is some sort of tax evasion basically taking place. But obviously, when the organization is going to, when any government organization is going to BBC, an organization like BBC, then obviously, there will be eyebrows be raised. Reason being that there has recently been a film which basically targeted the current Prime Minister about the Godhra Royals. So certainly there will be eyebrows be raised, but then these cases or these all obviously have to stand in the court of law. Whenever any action is...
Ashish, thank you so much for that. In fact, we are playing those live visuals from outside the BBC office in the national capital, where IT team is currently at for undertaking that very survey that my colleague Ashish Mehrishi was talking about. And the conjectures that are going to be made because of this survey are many. And on those lines exactly is the Congress party now responding. Let's listen into the reaction that's coming.
Now we are reporting from one interior village in Antakya, which is Dirinjay. This is the Dirinjay village, which falls few kilometers before the main city. Now you can see the destruction that has happened here. Behind me you can see this used to be one residential bungalow, and you can see it has tilted, and in fact the structure is completely damaged, dilapidated. The residents are left to live on the roads, and in fact the place where I'm reporting from, this is a hostel, government hostel, belongs to Ministry of Sports, and students used to live here. But when a quake came, this hostel has got damaged, and look at the situation. But fortunately nobody died, because all the students rushed out of the hostel on time. This is what locals are telling us. Clothes lying here in the government building, so they have kept this arrangement so that anybody who is in a need of a cloth, of a woolen cloth to protect themselves from winter, they can come and pick it.
Yes. All the earthquake victims on our way here, they all said the same thing. Thanks to everyone, we have lots of food and lots of clothes. There is no shortage of them anymore. This is a very cold area, as I said before.
It's 1 degree Celsius.
Yes, we are freezing even right now.
Right now.
They say we are lack of especially tents, heaters, fuel, blankets, and of course, as usual, diapers and hygiene materials for women. These are the most required materials. No shortage of food, and as you can see, no shortage of clothes anymore.
Has already started. They're saying that once this relief work will come to an end, the rescue works will stop, then the next step is going to rebuild the cities, the complexes which have got completely devastated. Right now situation is bad here on ground. It's 1 degree Celsius. People are left to live on the streets in their homes, but when we go and speak to them, they're full of gratitude. They thank God for everything, that they are alive, and they feel for those who have lost their near and dear ones. They also feel for those who are still stuck in debris.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narsimhan. Ladies and gentlemen, we begin today with a reason to smile, a reason to cheer for, and also to say that the second biggest league in the world, the Women's Premier League, that's set up within 15 years of the Indian Premier League, or the men's version coming to pro, has a bright future ahead. Have a look at these visuals coming in from somewhere in Rajasthan, where these girls are stepping out and hitting it right out of the park. Isn't it a joy to watch them in action? Everybody's been tweeting about it, talking about it. It all started with the BCCI's Jai Shah putting it out there. And then everybody has taken to it. We thought, why not us? And why not start with a little bit of cheer before we get into the thick of things here on this edition of The Right Stand. Look at them stepping out and whacking it with elan over the homes. And that cheer also. Savor that. Isn't it fantastic? So Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri has also tweeted this video where they've hailed their talent and said that the future of women's cricket is in good hands. From a remote village in Rajasthan, these girls giving us a reason to smile and also giving us a lot of hope. Well, let's get a move on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into the day's biggest development. It's been more than 7 hours since the Income Tax Authority started carrying out a survey at the BBC India offices in the national capital and, of course, in the financial capital, Mumbai. According to government sources, surveys at the BBC premises are in connection with alleged tax evasion and irregularities. The tax authorities have insisted that these are neither raids nor searches, only surveys that are being conducted at the BBC offices. And this comes weeks after the BBC released a 2-episode series on Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and the first episode, with a major focus on the 2002 Gujarat riots, raised so many objections in India that the government eventually blocked the circulation of the links in India. A full-blown political controversy has erupted over the